Hello everybody, this is Oksana and today we're going to make this swirly pendant with a few little beads and lots of swirls. And if you enjoy wire wrapping tutorials, I hope that you'll consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you so much. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Ooh, almost dropped it there. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified when I make new videos, which is every weekend. So if you want to see how I made this, let's get started. The base wires I'm going to be using are 21 gauge square dead soft copper, and you can use 20 gauge as well. My stone is pretty small, so I decided to go ahead and size down to 21, but 20 will still work with it. And if your stone is a little bigger than mine, then I would definitely size up to 20. And you're going to need 3 pieces of them that are 15 inches long. And what you want to do is you want to line them all up together, all 3 of the wires, and then I like to just use my fingers to try and get them all nice and straight and lined up nicely, because sometimes when you take them right off the spool, they might have a little bit of a mind of their own. So then once you do that and they're all just lined up nicely, you want to find roughly the middle of the 3 wires. For me, that's right here. And then you want to take a thinner wire. I'm using this. It is a half round wire. It's 24 gauge, so it's quite thin. And I buy all my wires on riogrande.com. And in this video, I'm using raw dead soft copper. But if you wanted to do this design in a different metal like sterling silver or gold fill, all of those work as well. It's just that I rarely make my videos with like expensive precious wires, because I don't want anybody trying a design for the first time and then having it not work out and wasting like a really nice wire. I'd rather you try it out in copper first, and then if it works out, go ahead and replicate it in a more expensive type of wire. So I'm taking the end of my half round wire here, and what I like to do is I first wrap that little end around a few times to just kind of connect my half round wire so it stays put nicely. And then I just kind of flip this over and I turn it with this hand, and then with this other hand I hold and guide the half round wire to make sure that it stays the rounded side up and the flat side down. So I'm guiding it. My hands are already very dirty from the wire. Sometimes when you rub the wire a lot, copper does get oxidized naturally, and you might not even notice. It might still look like a bright shiny color, but there might be like a little bit of oxidation forming on it, and then you rub it and it comes off on your hands. So I'm just turning it and guiding it, and you just want to do this for a little bit because you want a nice connection here of these 3 wires. So this looks adequate to me. Yours can be shorter than this. I do oftentimes make mine a little extra long for the look of it. So now I'm just trimming. Make sure that when you trim the wire, both of the ends end up on the same side. And now I'm just grabbing my pliers and I'm pressing down on the ends. You can see the end right there. And then this one, I'm pressing down on it, and I just like to go over the whole thing and just press everything down. And so the wire ends are hidden here on this side. So that's the side that we want facing the stone. And the way that I want this to go, underneath my stone is I want it to have a nice point to it. So I'm going to try and find the middle of this little wrap that I made, and I'm going to try to make a bend in it. Oops, and you can make a sharp bend, you can make a more rounded bend. Mine is a little bit rounded looking right now, but I'm gonna try to make it a little sharper because I like the look of that. So I'm just kind of bending it a little sharper and just going over it with my pliers. Now I am gonna open it up a little bit though, like, so that my stone fits nicely there. So here we go. I like this. This is what I ended up with here. Let me grab my stone now and I'll measure it for you, and we'll bend the frame around it. So my stone is a Labradorite. You can see the shine on it when the light hits it. That's kind of what makes Labradorites special. And it is an oval, and it is almost exactly an inch. Yeah. So it's an inch, or about 25 millimeters. And so I'm going to position it like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hold it here. I know I'm going to block a lot of it with my fingers, but basically I want it to be like this. So the bottom has this little point and this little gap there. So I'm just putting it there, trying to make sure. So you want to put this down maybe on like a table. That would be a nice easy way to do it, but I'm just doing it here in the air so you can see. And I'm bending my wires around my stone, making a frame, just checking that it's even. And here at the very top I want my wires to come together, and so I'm just bending them kind of side to side and trying to get them to come together like this. So then my frame looks like that. And what I would do now is I would grab my half round wire again, and let me just straighten the half round wire. Got a little twisted there. All right, so I would just grab my half round wire and wrap it around all 6 of these wires. There's 6 wires because there's 3 wires coming from this side and 3 from this side, and they're all kind of meeting up here, and they're all stacking on top of each other. Like we have these 3 and those 3. See how they're kind of stacked together nicely in this little bundle? That's what you want to achieve. So I'm wrapping around all of them, and then when I get down to the bottom here, I'm taking the end of my wire and I'm feeding it through the frame like this. This is just to finish off the wire so it doesn't unravel. So I'm grabbing that wire, kind of pulling on it a little bit to get it nice and tight there, and then you just see it sticking out right there. So I'm just going to trim that off as close as I can get in there with my wire cutters so that there is no wire end sticking up there, and it just all looks nice from all sides. And then what I'm going to do is take the frontmost 2 wires here to make my bail. So I'm just pushing them forward like this, and I'm continuing this wire, so it's in the back right now. So I'm just going to wrap it around, get to the front, and now I'm going to wrap it around only these 2 wires. So I'm just turning the piece, and my wires keep hitting. That's like a little drawer there is my white background. So I'm just turning the piece and I'm guiding the wire like this. And that is going to be my bail. So you want to do this for a little bit until it's tall enough to be your bail. So I'll just come back in a minute here. All right, so this is tall enough. Usually about an inch is adequate for a bail. So this is the front of our stone here. Then this is the back. So you have these wires here in the back, and that is where you want this little wire end to be when you cut the wire here on your bail. So you want to cut it and you want to press it down like this so that the wire end is hidden here in the back, and then you just want to go over your whole bail with your pliers like that. And at this point, let me zoom out a little bit here. So I'm gonna separate the wires here in the back. So there's 2 wires coming from this side, because the first wire is here in the bail, then you have these 2 wires. So we're gonna push them to one side and then push these other wires to the other side. So now we have something that looks like this. And now we're gonna bend this in the bail shape. So we're gonna bend it kind of towards the back and having it kind of be rounded like this, and tucking these wire ends, just like bending them and tucking them into the frame like this. And then let's just tighten that up by squishing it with our pliers. Like this. So then here's your bail. That's the back, this is the front, here's the wires. So we are just gonna be attaching the bail with these wires. So I'm taking the leftmost wire, I'm pushing it towards the back, from front to back here, just on the side of my frame, and I'm trimming it, but I'm not trimming it short. I'm trimming it so there's an end left that you can see sticking out there, because what I want to do here on the back is I want to take that wire end, I want to turn it so it's going into the frame, and then I want to just press down on it and pinch it closed. So now our bail is attached, and this wire is kind of going around, and the end of it is in here in the frame. It's not so long that it sticks out, so I can't feel it, and it's hidden away. And now this wire, I like to you can wrap it here on the other side, or you can just trim it really, really short like this. It's up to you. And then I'm gonna take my stone and I'm gonna pop it into the frame. And here on the back, we're gonna lock in the back first. So roughly in the middle of my stone, I'm gonna grab just the backmost wire here. I'm just gonna grab it and put a bend in it like this. And then it's the same thing on the other side as well. I'm just gonna grab just that backmost wire and put a bend in it like this. So here's the back, and the stone is trapped right now on the back only, so it can't go backwards, but it could go forward. So we have to lock it on the front. So what I like to do is take the frontmost wire, and I like to just kind of separate it out from the rest, just like this. So now you can get in here with your pliers because we've separated it out. And then here on the bottom where that stone ends, that's where I like to just put a bend with my pliers like this. And then same thing on the other side. Put a bend like this, and our stone is trapped. So now our stone is trapped from the front because these wires are on the stone. They won't let it go forward and from the back, so all we have to do is finish these 4 wires up. So I'm going to start with the wires here on the right hand side, and I'm just going to take them, take the bottom one first, or the frontmost one first, because you have 2 of them like this, and one of them is kind of more towards the front and the other one's in the back of it. So I'm going to take the one that is more towards the front, and I'm going to bend it like this. Something that's pretty fun to do is to add some beads for decoration. So I have these 3mm beads. This is the size of the hole, and then I have these 2mm beads. They're both copper beads from Rio Grande, and I'm just going to be using both of these just to add some fun decoration. And one thing to note is my wire is 21 gauge, so if you are using a different gauge, like 20 gauge, you might have to use different beads with different hole sizes to get them to fit. So I'm just squishing the tip of mine because when I trimmed it, it kind of widened it, which made it harder for the beads to go on it. I could have just trimmed it off. That would be another option, but I just kind of squished it with my pliers, and now the beads slide on much easier. So I did the 3mm bead, and now I'm putting the 2mm beads on there. And feel free to kind of go your own way here with your decorations. So here's what mine looks like so far. I'm gonna go ahead and bend this second wire here to just kind of follow along my first wire. Zoom in a little, and I'm just gonna wanted a slightly bigger curve up here, so I'm just using my pliers to adjust things to how I want. So I'm happy with that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take both of the wires and make a swirl with the both of them like this. That way the beads don't slide down. And then I'm bending that swirl here to the back like this, and then I'm taking it, I'm just gonna have it go along the back, and then I'm gonna put it through this little gap on the bottom there. So I'm just putting it through, and I'm pressing it down across the back of my stone, and then here, once it comes through the middle here, just gonna go ahead, and so I want it to go here away from the stone, and then I'm gonna kind of swirl it towards the stone like this, and like that. So it kind of mimics the one on the top, but it's on the bottom. And now these little wire ends here, we're just gonna bend them, and we're gonna trim them. And we're gonna tuck them in to here. So this is the back. So here's what that looks like on the front. And then here on this side, just gonna bring this down. These 2 wires, just bringing them down together like this. And what I'm gonna do, I'm putting a little bend in them this way, is I'm gonna take, so I'm holding this upside down, I'm gonna take 1 wire at a time, and I'm gonna make a little swirl. So first I'm making a little swirl with this kind of outside wire, we'll call it. And I just want that to be a little bit smaller of a swirl, so I'm just kind of squishing it a little bit with my pliers there. And now I want the wires to be together again. So let me zoom in and show you. So here it is. I made this little swirl and the other wire is just following along. And now I'm gonna curve it this way and I'm gonna make a swirl with the other wire. So here's my second swirl, and feel free to adjust it with your pliers. I just want it to be a little bit smaller here. So now this wire, I'm just having it follow. So now I have 2 swirls, and now I'm curving this down in the other direction. And I'm making a swirl with the other wire again. So I'm taking turns. See, if I separate the wire, you can see I'm just taking turns with these wires, making these little swirls. And just kind of working my way down. So once you get close enough to the bottom, you just have to take a look. Can you fit in one more swirl? Or do you need to finish it off? I'm gonna try and fit in one more swirl. So this wire was swirled, now it's this wire's turn. So I'm gonna try to make this one really tiny here because I don't want it to hit this other thing we have going on the other side. So I'm just trying to make it nice and neat and small. Just kind of squish it. There we go. Let's bend this wire to follow it along. Here we go. Here's our row of swirls kind of going down the stone there. So what I'm going to do now, trying to keep these 2 wires nice and together. I'm just going to lift them up from the stone for a sec so I can bend this down and tuck it in here because we got to attach this now. So I'm just pulling it through. I'm trying to keep everything nice and together. This bit here, I'm just gonna adjust it because it's getting a little bent. All right, so once you are satisfied with that, I'm just gonna take this, and so it's going through. Here it is on the back. I'm bringing it to the front again. So you can see that there. You can kind of get in here and just press down on that a little bit. And then my 2 wires here, just gonna trim them and leave ourselves some little wire ends there and tuck them away. And I actually did not end up adding any more little beads. I was thinking of adding more beads, but then I just kind of forgot about it with all the swirls. But you could add a few of those smaller beads maybe into here somewhere. That would be pretty too. All right, let me just adjust that all. So here we go. Finishing touches. And here it is. Here's our little pendant, our swirly pendant. Let me just turn my camera here so you can see the light better. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.